Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Paper Tiger. I doubt you guys can tell from how sunny it is in the why can't I motion to the window? There we go. How sunny it is that it's 29 degrees outside here, but it is, and I am waiting to go on a run for when it warms up to like at least 35, so my lungs don't freeze. So I'm just chilling in here until that happens. Sitting here wearing the same outfit as yesterday because apparently these are my pajamas now, and sipping Tim Hortons out of a Buc-ee's cup, which I feel like is a clash of cultures that should be illegal and possibly a war crime. But anyways, here we are, another episode. This one is called Perceived Boundaries and the Notion of Impossible, i.e. how to trust yourself and your ideas. Now, I was listening to a meditation earlier that kind of touched on this subject, and they essentially were like, was one lady. She was like, your perceived boundaries, or what you believe is stopping you from being more creative or stopping you from doing something, is when you identify more with the obstacles than with the possibilities. Now, I personally, especially with this channel, have identified with the obstacles for years. I mean, when we were in the training artist like an athlete episode, I literally said this document has existed since 2021, and I've been sitting here not doing anything with it, dicking around for 3 years, because I'm like, well, you know, this person's doing that, and I don't know if I can do that. I think I need to go to grad school, I need to do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, here we are. So obviously that ship has sailed. What has caused that to happen? Great question. Before I get into that, I first want to kind of build off of the perceived boundaries thing. So a lot of the time when we come up with ideas, we judge them and we think, okay, that seems cool and all, that seems awesome, I like that a lot, I can't do that. There's too many obstacles, your beliefs are self-limiting, and you just kind of halt yourself from doing what it is that you truly want to do. You make up reasons in your mind, or you listen to other people and you identify with the obstacles. What I've kind of come to the conclusion of is, if you believe these obstacles are real, then, you know, if everything is balanced, so are all of the possibilities. So you have a 50-50 chance of whatever obstacle you believe in happening to you, but you also have a 50-50 chance of the possibility of something great happening to you from you doing this. So if that's the case, then why, you know, people like 50-50 odds, might as well go for it, right? And also, let's say the obstacle does happen. Let's say, you know, I start making this channel and everybody hates it. Everybody's like, you're a fucking crack, you don't know what you're talking about, boo. Well, then there's also the 50% chance that, you know, after that happens, one person's like, I find his advice really helpful, actually. I like what he's talking about. And all of a sudden it pops off and I get to meet Pharrell, and it's great. I don't know why Pharrell just entered this question, but he did. And anyways, it's kind of, you know, where I stand on that. If there's a chance of what you think is bad happening to you, then I would say there's an equal chance of the good thing happening as well. But then a lot of times people are like, well, that's impossible. You know, that's never been done before. That's never been thought of before. That's new. That's untrained territory. I can tell you right now that anything that you have thought of is not original. This is something my girlfriend says a lot, which, you know, she's smart. I trust her. I think she knows what she's talking about. But, you know, there are no original ideas. I mean, I just watched a movie called Super 8, which is about a small town that has a factory and an army base, and under the army base exists a monster, and the monster can manipulate electricity and magnetism, and there's a girl, and she doesn't have superpowers, but she's a main character, and she gets kidnapped, and it takes place in the late 70s, right before the 80s, and it's Stranger Things. So Super 8 came out, I don't know when Stranger Things came out. I think it was 2015 was the first season, and Super 8 came out in 2011. So you're telling me the Duffer Brothers never saw Super 8? I highly doubt that. And also, this notion of like there not being original ideas. It's the whole purpose of this book, which I know a lot of people who are artists have read. I mean, we had to read this for a media class, I think it was media. Yeah, I don't think I read it for an art class. I think it was media. We had to read it for a media class, and that's not even art. It was entrepreneurial media, that's what it was. And so, you know, if you're coming up with ideas and you're like, oh, that's impossible, that's never been done before. First of all, chances are it's been done before, so therefore it's not impossible. It's been thought of. Second of all, if it's been thought of and not acted upon, it's because someone had perceived boundaries. And so therefore, maybe you should just eliminate your perceived boundaries and just go for it. And third of all, like, let's say you do something that someone has done before. Let's say you have a Super 8 Stranger Things situation and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. Well, when it starts out, it might be very similar to your influences. However, let's think about where Stranger Things has progressed since the first season. Season 4 is absurd. So, like, think about it. They built off of it. They built from it. They expanded upon it. There's this whole universe. There's this world building. There's all this going on. It is not really close to what its original form was. You know, you see this with artists. You see, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Okay, Jay-Z's first album. Great. Reasonable Doubt is awesome. It sounds very similar to a Biggie album, or honestly, I would say Biggie is probably the closest influence there. Tyler, the Creator's early work is very like horrorcore and scary and like Gravediggers, even though he says he wasn't influenced by them. It sounds like that. But then he comes into his own and he builds off of that, and things begin to look more original, which, whether or not anything is original, again, is up for debate. However, when you trust yourself and you trust your ideas, they begin to become what you want, which is your own thing. I mean, even this, like, there are a million people giving out creative advice on YouTube, right? But I was like, hey, no one really talks to the camera when they do it, first of all. Second of all, everyone has like the fancy editing and the fancy camera, and they're like, yeah, like, my life is so great. I meditate every day and I have plants everywhere. I have dead roses from a date. That's what I have. You know, I don't have plants everywhere. I don't have like a tea ceremony before where I'm like, let's all sit down and relax. No, I sit here with bedhead and pajamas and I just give it to you straight. Because that's what I want to do. I trust myself, and I trust that that is a need that has not been filled by anybody, because it hasn't. No one really sits down and just gives you straight creative advice. I take that back. Sketch School does a little bit, but no one really does. So if you trust yourself, you trust your ideas, you'll realize, oh shit, yeah, I should do that. So to recap, next time you have a limiting belief, a perceived notion of the impossible, remember this. There's an equal chance of the positive things happening as much as there are the negative things. I don't know why I did two. 2, anything that you deem impossible probably has already been done, and if it hasn't, it's because someone held back, and so don't hold back. And number 3, if you feel like you're copying someone, you feel like you're taking too much from your inspirations, eventually, over time, you won't. Because, as I say on here, creativity is a habit. If you keep doing it and doing it, you'll develop and you'll build upon it, and voila. Not to reference my girlfriend again, but she said that's why paint by numbers exists, and I believe her. It's just to get you started. Because once you start painting by numbers, eventually comes the Mona Lisa.